The pathetic human fleet made their desperate last stand, hopelessly outnumbered by the mighty Ferengi armada, yet the arrogant aliens laughed. Their mocking jeers and demands for surrender echoed across the void of space as the battered human ships held position. On the bridge of the flagship USS Defiance, Captain Christian Wells, maverick strategist and veteran commander, clenched his jaw and watched the Ferengi ships close in, their weapons charged. Fenris, the ruthless Ferengi overlord, broadcast his scorn. "Pitiful humans, your fleet is nothing against our might. Surrender now and we may show mercy." His cruel laughter carried through the calm. Christian's grip tightened on the arm of his command chair. He had planned for this moment, sacrificed for it, bled for it. Around him, the crew of the Defiance stood tense and ready, awaiting his signal. A small ship suddenly broke formation, engines flaring as it raced toward the heart of the Ferengi fleet. Fenris's laughter turned to a sneer. "A foolish act of desperation. Destroy that ship." But before the Ferengi could fire, the ship broadcast a return message. Surprise. The small vessel erupted in a blinding flash, an advanced human weapon detonating in a devastating explosion that ripped through the Ferengi fleet. The overconfident aliens reeled in shock, their ships crippled, their defenses shattered. Christian smiled coldly. Now. At his command, the human fleet surged forward as one, targeting the weakened Ferengi ships with merciless precision. The battle was joined, the fate of humanity riding on this moment, years in the making. Secret weapons conceived in hidden labs, intelligence gathered by rebel spies, the sacrifices of a desperate human insurgency, all led to this desperate gambit, and deep within the Ferengi stronghold, undercover human operatives waited to strike a crippling blow at Christian's signal. The Ferengi had laughed, but no longer. Humanity would fight to the bitter end, or its glorious rebirth. The battle raged around the crippled Ferengi ships as Christian studied the tactical display, his mind racing. A flashing indicator caught his eye, a priority message from the rebel spy network. He touched the screen and a familiar face appeared. Lieutenant Zara Raven, her image flickering through static. "Captain Wells," Zara said urgently, "I've uncovered a weakness in the Ferengi command ship. Emperor Xenon's vessel has gaps in its shield coverage, unrepaired due to his arrogance. I'm transmitting the data now." Christian's eyes narrowed as he absorbed the schematics on his display. A slow smile spread across his face. He had known Zara since she was a raw recruit, watched her grow into one of the rebellion's most skilled operatives. Her years undercover in Xenon's court had yielded priceless intelligence, but none so crucial as this. He hit the shipwide comm. "Commander Reyes, report to the bridge. We have a new mission." Jackson strode onto the bridge moments later, his dark eyes gleaming with anticipation. Christian brought up the command ship data on the main view screen. "Zara just sent us a golden opportunity. We're going to infiltrate Xenon's ship and capture that smug bastard." Jackson grinned fiercely. "I'll assemble our best for the strike team." Christian clasped his friend's shoulder. "You'll pilot the assault shuttle. I'm leading this one personally." Memories flashed through Christian's mind as he suited up. The years of Zara's deep cover mission, her encrypted messages detailing Ferengi movements, the rebel strikes on supply depots and shipyards that slowly bled the alien war machine, all leading to this chance to cut the head off the snake. The strike team boarded the shuttle, Christian taking the co-pilot's chair beside Jackson. Reverse-engineered Ferengi cloaking tech shielded them from sensors as they slipped through the battle, angling toward Xenon's ship. "We're getting a transmission from Zara on the command ship," Jackson reported. "She's disabled internal security." Christian nodded grimly. "Take us in." The shuttle latched onto the Ferengi hull like a lamprey, burning through the armor. Christian was first through the breach, rifle raised, his team fanning out behind him. Alarms blared as they raced through the corridors, following Zara's uploaded schematics. They burst onto the bridge in a hail of gunfire, Ferengi guards falling before their onslaught. Christian charged forward, sighting Xenon rising from his command throne in shocked disbelief. But before Christian could reach him, a lithe figure stepped from the shadows behind the throne, pressing a gun to Xenon's head. Zara's cold smile greeted Christian as she met his eyes over the sputtering Emperor. "Xenon," Christian said conversationally, "I believe it's time we had a chat about the future of this galaxy." The Ferengi leader drew himself up arrogantly. "You are nothing, human, a primitive species scrabbling in the mud. The Ferengi rule the stars, now and forever." Christian raised an eyebrow. Forever is a long time for a man with a gun to his head. Where's that famous Ferengi pragmatism? Xenon opened his mouth to retort, but his words were lost as a tremendous explosion shook the ship, throwing everyone to the deck. Alarms screamed as the vessel shuddered and tilted. Jackson stumbled to the sensor console, eyes widening in horror. "It's Fenris! He's ordered this ship destroyed with Xenon on board." Zara hauled the stunned Emperor to his feet. "Time to go, Your Highness." They ran, the ship bucking and heaving around them, bulkheads shattering under relentless bombardment. The shuttle was a blessed sight. Jackson leaped into the pilot's seat, hands flying across the controls as the team piled aboard with their hostage. "Punch it," Christian barked. The shuttle kicked free of the disintegrating ship, its abused engines straining as they hurtled back toward the Defiance. Behind them, the Ferengi command ship erupted in a sun-bright conflagration, lit by its own death throes and the incoming fire of Fenris's flagship. Christian sagged back in his seat, adrenaline still thundering through his system. He looked to Zara, who met his gaze with a triumphant smile, one hand firmly gripping the back of Xenon's neck. The arrogant Emperor would be a powerful bargaining chip, his capture throwing the Ferengi hierarchy into chaos. Christian opened a comm channel to the rebel fleet. "This is Captain Wells. We have Emperor Xenon. I repeat, we have the Ferengi leader in custody. Press the attack." A ragged cheer sounded across the link as the human ship surged forward with renewed purpose, striking at the faltering Ferengi formations. Confusion spread through the alien fleet as news of Xenon's capture rippled outward. Christian's face hardened as he prepared his next transmission, a message for the downtrodden species languishing under Ferengi tyranny. Today's victory would light the spark of revolution across the stars, a chance for all to rise against their oppressors. Humanity had struck the first blow, but the war was just getting started. A new chapter was beginning, one that would reshape the destiny of the galaxy itself. Christian straightened his shoulders, ready to lead the charge into an uncertain future. The Ferengi had laughed. Now they would learn the true strength of the human spirit. As the human fleet regrouped in the aftermath of their victory, Christian wasted no time. He knew the Ferengi Empire would be reeling from the capture of Emperor Xenon, and he intended to press that advantage. "Zara," he called to his trusted spy, "I need you to reach out to your contacts among the subjugated species. Start with the Eurasians." Zara nodded, her eyes gleaming with purpose. "They've been itching for a chance to strike back at the Ferengi. I'll make it happen." Within hours, a secure channel crackled to life on the bridge of the Defiance. Prince Zoran of the Eurasians appeared on screen, his crystalline skin shimmering under the lights of his own command center. "Captain Wells," Zoran's voice rang with a musical quality, "your victory has not gone unnoticed. The Eurasians stand ready to join your cause." Christian leaned forward, studying the alien prince. "We welcome your support, Prince Zoran. Together we can break the Ferengi's hold on this galaxy." As they discussed strategy, alarms blared across the bridge. Jackson's fingers flew across his console. "Captain, incoming transmission from our spy network. Priority 1. The message flashed across the main view screen, detailing a secret Ferengi research facility on Nexus Prime. Christian's blood ran cold as he read the specifics of the weapon being developed there. "A planet killer," he muttered, his mind racing. He turned to Zoran. "Prince, we need to move fast. Can your forces provide support for a covert operation?" Zoran's crystalline features hardened. "We will do more than that, Captain. My best warriors are at your disposal." Christian nodded grimly. "Then it's time to call in our ace." He tapped his comm. "Get me Drax Rohan." Hours later, Christian stood in the Defiance's briefing room, surrounded by a mix of human and Eurasian soldiers. At his side loomed Drax Rohan, a mountain of muscle and scar tissue, his eyes burning with barely suppressed rage. "The Ferengi took everything from me," Drax growled, his voice like gravel. "Now we take everything from them." Christian laid out the plan, detailing their approach to the heavily fortified world of Nexus Prime. As he spoke, he could feel the energy in the room building, a palpable sense of purpose uniting this diverse group of warriors. The assault shuttle screamed through Nexus Prime's atmosphere, cloaking technology straining against the planet's advanced sensors. Christian gripped his rifle tightly as Jackson expertly guided them towards their landing zone. 30 seconds, Jackson called out. Drax checked his weapons one last time, a grim smile on his scarred face. Time to remind the Ferengi why they fear the dark. The shuttle touched down and the team burst forth, moving swiftly through the jungle towards the hidden facility. They encountered the first line of defense, a patrol of Ferengi guards. Before Christian could give the order, Drax was among them, his massive frame a blur of lethal motion. In seconds, the patrol lay broken on the ground. Drax looked back at the team, his eyes gleaming. "Let's move!" They fought their way through increasingly heavy resistance, human and Eurasian working in perfect sync. Christian marveled at the efficiency of their alien allies, the crystalline warriors moving with fluid grace as they cut down Ferengi troops. Finally, they breached the main complex. Alarms blared as they raced through sterile corridors, following the schematics provided by their intelligence. "The weapon control center is just ahead," Christian shouted over the din of battle. "Drax, take point!" The mercenary nodded, charging forward with reckless abandon. They burst into a vast chamber dominated by a pulsing orb of energy, the heart of the Ferengi's planet killer. A voice rang out, cold and calculating. "Ah, the human vermin arrives at last." Dr. Khal Vortex stepped into view, his Ferengi features twisted in a sneer of contempt. "You're too late. The weapon is nearly complete." Drax snarled, leveling his weapon at the Ferengi scientist. "Not for long." Vortex laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. This technology, it's beyond anything your primitive minds can comprehend." "Then educate us," Christian said, buying time as his team moved into position. Vortex's eyes gleamed with maniacal pride. "We found it in the ruins of a civilization that wiped itself out eons ago. With it, we'll ensure the Ferengi reign supreme for all time." Drax had heard enough. With a roar of pure hatred, he launched himself at Vortex. The two collided in a furious tangle of fists and fury, their personal vendetta a microcosm of the larger conflict. Christian and his team engaged the Ferengi security forces pouring into the chamber, a desperate battle erupting around the pulsing orb of the planet killer. Eurasian crystal blades flashed as human rifles thundered, holding the line against the Ferengi onslaught. Through the chaos, Christian caught glimpses of Drax and Vortex locked in mortal combat. The mercenary fought with raw power and rage, while the Ferengi scientist employed a surprising array of lethal techniques. Suddenly, Drax's voice cut through the din. "Captain, the core! It's destabilizing!" Christian's blood ran cold as he saw the pulsing orb growing erratic, tendrils of energy lashing out wildly. Vortex laughed maniacally, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. "You've done it now, humans. When this facility goes, it'll take half the planet with it." Drax locked eyes with Christian, a lifetime of pain and purpose reflected in his gaze. "Get your people out. I'll make sure this thing burns." Before Christian could protest, Drax turned and charged towards the wildly fluctuating core. Vortex screamed in rage, leaping after him. The two disappeared into the maelstrom of energy surrounding the weapon. "Fall back," Christian roared, gesturing frantically to his team. "Everyone out now!" They fought their way back through the facility, the walls shaking around them as the power of the unstable weapon grew. They barely made it to the shuttle, Jackson pushing the engines to their limit as they clawed their way into orbit. Behind them, a blinding flash erupted from the surface of Nexus Prime. When it faded, a massive crater scarred the planet where the Ferengi facility had been. On the shuttle, Christian stared at the view screen, his eyes sharp tight. Zara placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft. Drax knew the risks. He died a hero. Christian nodded slowly, his mind already racing ahead to their next move. With the Ferengi's secret weapon destroyed and new allies at their side, the tide of war was turning. But he knew the fight was a long way to go. He opened a channel to the Defiance. "Prep the war room. It's time to plan our final offensive." Christian stood at the helm of the Defiance, his gaze fixed on the holographic display of the Ferengi homeworld. The swirling clouds and sprawling cities of the alien planet filled him with a mix of anticipation and dread. "All strike teams report ready, Captain," Jackson announced, his voice taut with tension. Christian nodded, his fingers tightening on the command console. "Commence Operation Endgame." The joint human-Eurasian fleet burst from hyperspace, their weapons blazing as they tore through the Ferengi's orbital defenses. On the planet's surface, Commander Reyes and her infiltration team had already begun their work, methodically sabotaging key defensive installations. As the Defiance entered the atmosphere, Christian turned to Prince Zoran. The Eurasian's crystalline form seemed to pulse with nearly unleashed energy. "Ready to make history?" Christian asked. Zoran's multifaceted eyes glinted. "Let us bring an end to Ferengi tyranny, my friend." The assault shuttles screamed towards the capital city, weaving through a hail of anti-aircraft fire. Christian gripped his rifle tightly as their craft shuddered and bucked. 30 seconds to touchdown," the pilot shouted. The moment the shuttle's doors opened, Christian and his team surged forward into a maelstrom of plasma fire and explosions. The streets of the Ferengi capital had become a war zone, with the elite royal guards putting up fierce resistance. Christian ducked behind a fallen pillar, plasma bolts sizzling overhead. He tapped his comm. "Reyes, status report." "We've disabled their primary shield generator." Reyes's voice crackled through gunfire and static. "But they've got redundant systems. We're working on it." A deafening explosion rocked the ground as an Eurasian battle mech stomped past, its crystalline weapons decimating a Ferengi strongpoint. Christian seized the opportunity, waving his squad forward. "Push to the palace. We end this today." They fought block by block, human purpose and Eurasian precision slowly overwhelming the Ferengi defenses. Christian lost track of time, his world narrowing to the next target, the next objective. Suddenly, his comm crackled to life. "Christian!" Zara's voice was urgent. "We've got a problem. Fenris has done something to Xenon. They're planning to use him as a living bomb." Christian's blood ran cold. "Where?" "They're moving him towards your position. Christian, I don't know if I can stop this without—" He could hear the anguish in her voice. "Do what you have to, Zara. We can't let Fenris win." The battle raged on, but now Christian found himself searching every face, wondering if the next corner would reveal Xenon's approaching form. The weight of command had never felt heavier. As they neared the towering spires of the royal palace, a familiar figure materialized from the smoke and debris. Fenris, the Ferengi Supreme Commander, stood before them, his elaborate armor scorched and dented. Prince Zoran stepped forward, his crystal blade humming with energy. "You are beaten, Fenris. Surrender, and perhaps you will be granted mercy." Fenris sneered, drawing his own weapon. "You understand nothing, Eurasian. The Ferengi are but one link in a chain stretching back millennia. Empires rise and fall, but oppression is eternal." With a roar of fury, Zoran charged. Christian moved to assist, but found his path blocked by a squad of royal guards. He could only catch glimpses of the titanic duel as he fought. Fenris was skilled, but Zoran was transcendent. The Eurasian prince moved like liquid crystal, each strike precise and devastating. Fenris's confidence crumbled as he found himself outmatched. With a final, decisive blow, Zoran shattered Fenris's defenses. The Ferengi commander fell to his knees, dark blood seeping from beneath his armor. "You've won nothing," Fenris spat, his voice weak but defiant. "The cycle will continue, with or without the Ferengi." Zoran raised his blade for the killing blow, but Christian called out, "Wait, we need him alive, for justice." The Eurasian prince hesitated, then nodded, lowering his weapon. With Fenris captured and the palace secured, the remaining Ferengi leadership crumbled. Christian found himself in the opulent throne room, facing the remnants of the alien royal family. "Your reign of terror ends today," Christian declared, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "But there is a path forward. Abdicate your power, and we can forge a new future for all species of this galaxy." The Ferengi rulers exchanged glances, their large ears twitching nervously. Finally, the eldest stepped forward, his expression a mix of resignation and relief. "We accept your terms, human. The Ferengi Empire is no more." As word of the surrender spread, cheers erupted across the planet and beyond. But Christian couldn't fully share in the celebration. His thoughts turned to Zara, to Xenon, and to the difficult choices that had brought them to this moment. The Ferengi had fallen, but Fenris's words haunted him. How many more empires lurked in the shadows of history? How long before the next tyrant rose to take their place? Christian squared his shoulders, pushing those thoughts aside. They had won a great victory today, but the real work was just beginning. The galaxy needed healing, needed justice, needed a new way forward. And humanity would be there to lead the way. The cheers of victory faded into a dull roar as Christian stepped off the shuttle onto Earth's soil. The weight of years seemed to settle on his shoulders as he scanned the crowd, searching for a face he hadn't seen in far too long. "Dad!" Christian turned, his breath catching in his throat. Liam stood before him, no longer the boy he remembered, but a young man with eyes that held both joy and something harder to define. "Liam," Christian whispered, pulling his son into a fierce embrace. "God, I've missed you." As they broke apart, Christian saw the conflict in Liam's eyes. "I'm proud of you, Dad," Liam said, his voice tight. "But where were you when I needed you?" The words struck Christian like a physical blow. Before he could respond, a commotion near the landing pad drew their attention. Zara was there, surrounded by a cluster of diplomatic aides, her face a mask of composure as she fielded rapid-fire questions. "We'll talk later," Christian promised Liam, squeezing his shoulder. "I have to go." Liam nodded, his expression guarded. "Yeah, you always do." Christian joined Zara as they made their way to the newly established Galactic Council chambers. The opulent room buzzed with tension as representatives from a dozen worlds argued over the shape of the post-Ferengi galaxy. "Complete disarmament is the only way forward," a human delegate insisted, pounding his fist on the table. Prince Zoran's crystalline form shimmered with nearly unleashed frustration. "And leave ourselves defenseless against the next threat? The Ferengi were not an aberration." Zara's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and authoritative. "Gentlemen, please, we've all seen the cost of unchecked militarization, but Prince Zoran is right. We can't ignore history." Christian watched as Zara deftly navigated the competing interests, her years of covert work evident in every carefully chosen word. Yet he saw the toll it took on her, the shadows that flickered behind her eyes. Later, in a quiet moment away from the negotiations, Zara sagged against a wall, her composure cracking. "Christian," she whispered, "what we did, what I became to win this war, I'm not sure I recognize myself anymore." He placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling her tremble beneath his touch. "We did what was necessary, Zara. The galaxy is free because of you." She looked up at him, her eyes haunted. "But at what cost? I've seen things, Christian, done things. Sometimes I wonder if the Ferengi's cruelty was just a reflection of something darker in the universe itself." Christian felt the weight of her words, of his own doubts, but he squared his shoulders, meeting her gaze. "Then we keep fighting that darkness, Zara, not with weapons, but with hope, with the chance we've given these worlds to build something better." As the days passed, Christian found himself spending more time with Liam, trying to bridge the years of absence. They walked through parks scarred by Ferengi bombardments, now sprouting with new growth. "I want to join the Reconstruction Corps," Liam said suddenly, his eyes hardened in a way that reminded Christian painfully of himself. Christian nodded slowly. "It's good work, important work." "But you don't approve." Liam's voice held an edge of challenge. "No, I do," Christian sighed. I hoped you might choose a different path, one further from the scars of war. Liam's laugh was short and bitter. Dad, there isn't a corner of the galaxy untouched by this war. At least this way, I can help heal it. As Christian prepared to step down from his command, he found himself in his old quarters aboard the Defiance one last time. He ran his hand along the worn console, remembering the battles fought, the lives lost, the impossible odds overcome. A chime at the door pulled him from his reverie. Zara entered, datapad in hand. "The final peace accords are ready for your signature," she said, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying a mix of exhaustion and hope. Christian took the pad, scanning the document that would shape the galaxy's future. "You'll do well in your new role, Zara. The Council needs your perspective." She nodded, a ghost of a smile on her lips. "And you? What will Captain Christian Wells do in a galaxy at peace?" He set the pad down, looking out at the stars. "Try to be the father Liam deserves. Maybe find out who I am when I'm not fighting a war." As they stood there, the weight of victory and its costs hung between them. The galaxy was healing, but the scars remained, in the rebuilt worlds below, in the hearts of those who had sacrificed so much. Christian knew the struggle was just getting started. But for now, as he looked at Zara and thought of Liam, he allowed himself to hope that the hard-won peace might just be worth the price they'd paid.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.